G'day, wonderful listeners. This is episode 71 of Trev's Talk, and I'm your host, Trev. Last week, I left off talking about the group I'm a member of called the Catenians. My next meeting with them is not for a couple of weeks, so I will leave news of them for now and explain how I've been worried about contacting Chelsea from the Salvos. I had sent her an email proposing a meeting and had not heard back for a long time, and started to think maybe she had gone cold on the idea of learning about the Scholarship Fund project. Then I received a phone call from Mr. Freeman, Pete, of the Aboriginal school, who said he had sent me an email, and after I read it, we should get together and talk about its contents. I searched my computer, including the junk folder, and found nothing, so emailed Pete and told him no email. He sent me another one, which I did not get either. Pete had told me that if I did not get his second email, then there must be something wrong with my system, and if that should be the case, he would arrange his IT man to check out my computer. Pete telling me this made me ask my AI assistant, Boris, my name for the bot, whether it could help sort out email problems. And sure enough, Boris said yes, no problem. So I typed in my problem of not getting emails to my inbox, but junk mail coming through okay, and Boris started guiding me through fixing the problem, and quickly had it sorted, so that I finished up with a bundle of emails appearing from the previous couple of weeks. And to my delight, there was one amongst them from Chelsea, with details of how I could meet with her and Mary, the Salvos Aboriginal Engagement Officer, but Daryl, Chelsea's husband and boss of the Salvos here in West Australia, would not be present. It was just too difficult to find a common time for a meeting if the whole three were needed to be present at the same time. Now that meant I probably would have to meet Daryl as well, but sometime after a meeting with Chelsea and Mary. I could handle that, so I fired off an email to Chelsea with some options on time and place for a meeting, which she responded to quickly, and, long story short, we have a meeting scheduled for later this week, which I will report to you, wonderful listeners, next episode. However, there is stuff to report on the contents of the email Pete sent me that only arrived after Boris fixed my email inbox problem. One of the 2026 scholarship recipients, Mackenzie, is a really smart student, and it is wonderful that we can help him. His mum contacted Mr. Freeman at the school and asked whether some of his scholarship funds could be used for taking her son to Tasmania to do scientific research on the platypus, bioluminescence, and the aurora australis. Mackenzie had already done a lot of research and had prepared a paper on that research. I had seen the paper he prepared and was blown away at the professionalism of the boy, as he is only in Year 5. The Moorditj Scholarship Fund project's policy is not to allocate funds according to blanket rules, where one size fits all, and there is no deviation from that. On the contrary, funds are allocated on a case-by-case basis, so that a student with real potential is not held back because funds allocated to him or her were restricted to a tight limit. The fund operates with some discretion on the amount of each scholarship. Any case of a selected student requiring the use of that discretion in funding will be assessed by me, and the discretion will be utilised should I deem it necessary. My attitude to having the power of discretion with scholarship funds goes back to when an anonymous donor gave me a large donation in January 2025 with the condition that I decide on just how it is used. I covered this topic in episodes 9, 11 and 38. I mention it here again so late listeners to these podcasts don't think me some awful dictator like the one we have in the US at the moment. So I was happy to agree to Mackenzie using a portion of his scholarship to go to Tasmania with his mum and further his research. As a matter of fact, I also saw possibilities of using the Mackenzie's clever research ideas as fodder for a media story. Maybe I could get a reporter interested in Mackenzie's human interest story and then widen the story to include my story of 2 encounters with the Holy Spirit at Medjugorje, a phenomenon that has been going on since 1981. Convincing the mainstream churches and charities to unite and establish a scholarship fund catering specifically for young Aboriginal students is also a story. Just think for a minute whether you've ever heard of the mainstream churches and charities uniting on any common cause before. There is also the story of me being denied a medical clearance to fly planes and my failed appeals to the Aviation Authority, CASA, and then my claim, as yet unheard, to the Human Rights Commission that I've been discriminated against on the grounds of an historical mental illness 25 years in the past. Surely, with all these different story angles, it must be possible to interest a media outlet of some kind. I've learned in the last couple of decades that without high status of some kind, celebrity standing or notoriety, it is extremely hard to get an audience with people in power who can help you raise funding. So, it is true that I must find a way to get myself out into the general public, where big numbers of ordinary people learn about me and the good works I'm trying to do. If I can do that, then it will open more paths for incoming donations. More funds in means more good works out. For example, if I had access to more funds, I could arrange scholarships for young Aboriginal youths at more schools. Just talking to you, wonderful listeners, about the need to raise my profile drives it home to me that I really need to try anything possible to do that, raise my profile. Well, first things first, I guess. I had better attend the coming meeting with Chelsea and Mary of the Salvos and see what results I get there. I feel confident that I can bring them on board, but because Chelsea's husband Daryl will not be present, and I believe he controls the purse strings, it looks like success at the Chelsea meeting will not be final. I will, highly likely, have to meet with Daryl at a later meeting. I can't authorise signage on our minibus, or give the go-ahead for the Scholarship Fund's website, or do any of the other things needed for the scholarship to be fully in place. Once the Salvos are fully on board, it's a case of full steam ahead. The meeting with the Salvos is happening in 2 days' time, which means I will be able to report to you, wonderful listeners, on its success or not in my next podcast. So that's it for this week. and I look forward to your company again next week, and I hope I have good news to report. This is Trev, tuning out.